Hello, everyone. Welcome into Above My Pay Grade. My name is Eric. Thanks for tuning in. If you could hit that like button, hit subscribe, really helps out the channel. Bit of a bombshell came out the other day. I want to go through this article with you and tell you what's going on. You guys probably heard, potentially you haven't. Leaked documents reveal the shocking extent of Department of Homeland Security disinfo collusion with Twitter and Facebook. Something you probably already knew in your gut based off of your experiences. Um, but now there's a investigation by the Intercept, and we'll go through this. If you guys remember, maybe you do, or maybe you don't watch Joe Rogan, but Mark Zuckerberg was on Joe Rogan back in August and said, basically, the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us. Some folks on our team were like, "Hey, just so just so you know, you should be on high alert. We thought there was a lot of Russian propaganda in 2016 election. We have it on notice, basically, that there is about some kind of dump that is similar to that. So just be vigilant." This is right before the election in 2020. And I try to be bipartisan here and not be any on any team because I think that's a pretty dumb way to look at politics um, in a tribal manner. But one thing that used to unite America, which is really, really sad, is our common respect for the Constitution. And this channel is about finances, macroeconomics, but a huge emphasis in macroeconomics is the social political ramifications that are happening in the country. If you don't have freedom, you don't really have anything. Um, if you have all the money in the world and you don't have freedom, then um, how good is your life really? So I, as we get into this, I mean, I just look at it as very sad. It kind of is what I had experienced over the last couple of years. Um, but anytime an organization um, says you can't be privy to this information that's not classified um, because you're too dumb to filter it, and we're the smart ones and we'll filter it for you, um, it's saying a lot about what they think about you, which is really sad. So, further reading here. Now, leaked documents provided from the Intercept, and I'll link this in the description below so you guys can read for yourself, reveal that the government collusion with big tech goes much deeper. The effort began in 2018 after former President Trump assigned the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency Act in the wake of several high profile hacking incidents, forming a new wing of the DHS devoted to protecting critical national infrastructure. The Department of Homeland Security is quietly broadening its efforts to curb speech that it considers dangerous. And I don't need to go through the litany, but how many things did you hear in the last 2 years that not even you knew weren't true because they weren't giving you all the information? Their justification was trust us, um, whether it be get the jab, wear a mask, and you said, well, hey, wait a minute, you told us if we got the jab that we wouldn't spread COVID, so why am I wearing a mask? Okay, that didn't make sense, and you weren't allowed to ask. And then you saw people getting COVID after getting the jab, and you said, hey, I don't think this stops the spread, and they're like, yeah, you're not supposed to say that. Countless things. Um, sick, sick. Further reading. The work, much of it remains unknown to the American public, came into clearer view earlier this year when DHS announced the new Disinformation Governance Board. I did a video on this back then, but um, they tried to formalize this process, and the American people weren't having it as a whole. It seemed rather dystopian for these people who have lied to us and lied to the American people. And that's, by the way, that's the thing. How many times has the government lied to the American people in history? And if you think about the government not as an entity, but people, which they are, people lie. And that's why free speech needs to be protected because, because human beings, including myself, we have agendas. And as I've said before, I don't look at this as like I'm holier than thou. I look at this as like, hey, you are not looking at this with the severity like you think you are smarter than everyone else, and this is something you shouldn't touch. Like much like the free market, and like Joe Biden's doing with these taxes on oil companies or potential windfall profits tax, or locking the the people down in 2020 or stimmies. All of this meddling in the central planning when it comes to the economy or free speech, I know that human beings can't control that. And they don't think that way. They think if we just get the right person in charge, they'll be able to disseminate information. And since they're so smart, um, they'll do it wisely and correctly. And they're also very moral. And I know that's not true. And they don't. So it's ultimately a worldview that is absolutely distorted. Okay, so behind closed doors and through pressure on private platforms, the US government has used its power to try to shape online discourse. According to the meeting minutes and other records appended to the lawsuit filed by a Missouri attorney, General Eric Schmidt, a Republican who is running for Senate. So he's actually filed a lawsuit, which you can look into as well. But it's absolutely, as you read through this investigation, you're like, huh. Discussions have ranged from the scale and scope of government intervention in online discourse to the mechanics of streamlining takedowns requests for false or intentional misleading information, says the Intercept. So basically, these companies um, had portals like Facebook and Twitter where the government could say, hey, this stuff about Hunter Biden's laptop, Russian disinformation, make sure you take that down. Which, by the way, after the fact was proven to be true, which is why free speech is important. And I think human beings and you and I, we always need to work on not being tribal thinkers, to think critically, because people do lie on both sides of the aisle. And that's why free speech is so important, because the marketplace of ideas filters out bad ideas because you get more and more information and you're able to make you're able to form your opinion based off all the information, not on the information people want you to see. FBI agent was in communication with Facebook that led to the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story in 2020 over the false allegations that it was disinfo. This year, she met with Twitter and DHS to stress we need media infrastructure that is held accountable. They use these words, held accountable. Probably try to scare these people. Sick. Then in March of 2022, FBI agent Laura uh, Demlow warned that the threat of subversive information on social media could undermine support for the US government. Yeah, yeah, like this story. Would you be, hey, we don't want people to know that we lied to them about um, the vaccine not stopping the spread. We don't want people to know that. So we need to throttle that information because then they might not support us. Yeah, no duh. Maybe you should maybe you should be a little more wise in your word choice in the future. And gosh, so they equate uh, undermining support for the U.S. government like it's like this subversive terrorist kind of thing, but in reality, it could be people that are actually knowing the truth about how you lied to them or how you are hiding the ball when it comes to the truth, like Hunter Biden laptop and COVID and all that kind of stuff. And maybe we shouldn't have locked down in the first place, stuff like that, which people were all saying, and how you took away their freedom and caused inflation, la, 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 la. Yeah, that would undermine support for the US government, specifically you. Specifically you. The government isn't this ethereal, like, good guy that it is made up of people that can make bad decisions. Again, reading from this tweet from Crabman here. According to the DHS meeting minutes from March, the FBI Foreign Influence Task Force this year, including 80 individuals, focused on curbing subversive data utilized to drive a wedge between the populace and the government. Does this sound like China to you? Reading from the meeting minutes here. According to the DHS meeting minutes from March, oh yeah, I already said that, sorry. FBI officials have been reassigned from the Al Qaeda and ISIS assignments to investigate Americans. How fun. Another FBI official, a Joint Terrorism Task Force officer, described to the Intercept, because this was leaked from people inside the FBI, being reassigned this year from the Bureau's International Terrorism Division, where they had primarily worked on cases involving Al Qaeda and Islamic State groups, to the Domestic Terror Division to investigate Americans, including anti-government individuals such as racially motivated violent extremists, sovereign citizens, militias, and anarchists. They're accusing essentially law-abiding citizens of, when the law-abiding citizens, freedom-loving, constitutional-loving Americans, point out their misdeeds, they're calling them violent extremists. They're calling them people that are subversive to the government. No, we're subversive to you. Of course, Twitter denied the report, telling The Intercept, "We do not coordinate with other entities when making content moderation decisions, and we independently evaluate content in line with Twitter rules. Except Facebook and Twitter created special portals, like I said, for the government to rapidly request takedowns on content. The portals, along with the NGO partners, used to censor a wide range of content, including obvious parody accounts, content disagreeing with government pandemic policy." I've said, I've said this before. Um, it wasn't COVID; it was the lockdowns that are causing this um, crisis when it comes to national debt. Obviously, we were on that path before, but COVID really hit the gas pedal. But a lot of people blame it on COVID. But I think if people would have known the consequences of what was going to happen, they would have reevaluated. Everyone was scared at the beginning because we didn't know anything. And you all remember 2 weeks to slow spread. That made sense, right? We don't want to overrun hospitals. And then we all know what happened. But if citizens would have known, hey, you are getting this stimmy check, and all of this and more is going to be given back to the government in the form of inflation, I think they would have reevaluated their support for that. Okay, so this is more from The Intercept. This apparatus had a dry run during the 2020 election when CISA began working with other members of the U.S. Intelligence Committee. Emails between DHS officials, Twitter, and the Center for International Security outlined the process for such takedown requests during the period leading up to November 2020. Under President Biden, the shifting focus on disinformation has continued. In January 2021, CISA replaced the Counter Foreign Influence Task Force with misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, just making up words at this point, team, which was created to promote a more flexibility to focus on general MDM. The department plans to target inaccurate information in a wide range of topics, including the origins of COVID-19 pandemic, yet another conspiracy theory that was proven to be true, or at least that's where the preponderance of evidence shows that it was a lab leak. And the efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccines. Another one, racial justice, U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, the nature of U.S. support in Ukraine. Does this seem like propaganda to you? I mean, you knew it was propaganda, but now they are showing their cards, unfortunately. And, there's certain lines in the sand, like central bank digital currency is one of them. But these people don't have any respect for the rule of law. And they look at themselves as not you're a person that is carrying on traditions and respect, and you're put in charge, if you're in the government, of continuing a legacy that respects, hopefully, the Constitution of the United States. And we're under this document, and I've told people on this channel, U.S. military doesn't swear an oath to the president; they swear an oath to the Constitution. Why is that? Why is that? The founders knew that people can be distorted, and that spreading out power helps to diffuse this kind of king mentality that these people have. You are too stupid to understand the information. We'll filter it for you. And yet your gut over the last 2 years, it's not because they were saying the vaccine stops the spread. It's not because the other side was saying that, if you're on the right or the left, because a lot of people have this like knee-jerk reaction. Hey, they said it, therefore it's false. But it's because they weren't giving you all the information, and your own eyes told you that they were lying. And they still were gaslighting. It's sick. Look into this yourself. Let me know what you guys think. Sad day for America if all this is true from the Intercept, because it just goes to show how far we've fallen from American people that has this rugged individualism, that has a general distrust for those in power and wants them to prove it to you. And we've gone to this place where we're like, well, my side says it's true, their side says it's false, and we need to be more critical thinkers. Like the people who watch this channel, we need to be more critical thinkers. My humble opinion. All right, let me know what you think in the comments below. See you guys in the next one. Peace.